My head was not in the right place. I attempted suicide.
Lovely fend, and Ombachi says, see you later.
That was the time I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
And now Ombachi scored one yesterday, will score one today.
That was the beginning of my self-discovery journey. Who I am now is because of other people.
He's not your ordinary guy, you know. He has his moments, he's very creative, he's pleasant to be around with, he's funny, he's just there for me. I know that this is the shoulder I can lean on.
Dennis is very fun-loving. He has got that mischievous side, which got him into trouble on occasion.
There's no airs, there's no graces, there's no affectations. Dennis is Dennis 100% of the time. He's one of the kindest people I've ever met in my life.
My dad was a tea plantation manager, so my childhood mostly was spent running around those bushes. You wake up, elephants were roaming on the front door. It had no electricity, it had no running water. My mom used to send me to fetch water. It was from the river. It was quite fun. Going to fetch it was downhill, but coming was uphill. So my childhood, I will say, it made me humble. It made me resilient because it was actually quite a tough childhood. I was a teenager, I was in boarding school. There was lots of bullying going on in that school. I remember it came from the prefects appointed by the school. I remember they were actually given a mandate. They were allowed to discipline us physically. So they used to beat us up using broomsticks. That's when at some point I snapped and decided to run away from school. I had enough money, I think just enough money to get me a bus from Kisii town. I arrived at Nairobi. I stayed in the streets for 6 to 7 days. I was expelled. That's when I joined Kiambu High School, and the principal was called Mr. Gitau. He knew where I came from, the situation, me and my former school. It was like, come try rugby. As soon as I joined the team, I actually realized this sport is actually for me. I stand on the shoulders of my mentors.
We usually train at the Railways Club, right in the middle of the city. I saw a really big bloke training with other sort of smaller or shorter guys, and I was like, who's that? Looks like a new boy has joined the club.
My relationship with Humphrey started on that day. He actually provided for my transport for over a year. The gym, my first training kit.
I was sort of like a father figure to him, and Dennis was eager to learn, and he was very shy, so he didn't talk a lot. So I'm pretty shy as well, but when I saw that in him, I was like, he needs quite some guidance.
Sooner or later, I was called up in the national team.
So I met Dennis as a very young man at the very first camp when I took over with Kenya in 2012. What you had is a very charismatic individual.
I felt like he sort of understands me. Mike Friday gave me confidence in myself and a launching pad on my career.
You know, he had talent. He was very much kind of all gung-ho action. Every now and then again, and that was the kind of the brilliance of his character. He would come up with something just that was ridiculous. You think about how Kenya qualified for the Olympics with that wonder try by Ombachi. It was amazing. It came out of nothing.
The Olympics, I think it's one of the best experiences I've had as a player. The Olympics were in Brazil. That was Rio 2016. You know you're surrounded by only the best athletes in the world. At some point, I was confused with a Jamaican sprinter because I had this vest that I carried from home that was green and had patches of yellow. These ladies were like, you guys part of the Jamaican team? Of course, there's no way I was going to disappoint them. I told them, yes. Can we have a photo with you? So I think someplace, somewhere, someone has a photo with me thinking I'm a Jamaican. I was in the best shape I've ever been in my career. And then as soon as that, I broke my leg and my ankle at the same time. So I was out for like 6 months. Being ruled out with an injury left me feeling depressed. I actually focused a lot of my energy trying to get back because I knew I really had a short period of time before I made it to the World Cup. Physically, I was doing well. I was almost fully recovered. It was now one tournament left before the Rugby World Cup, and the coach then, Innocent Simiu, was like, okay, we're going to give you a run in this tournament to check and see whether you're ready for the World Cup. But by then, I think I was already, I would say, a bit dead inside. Like my confidence levels were completely gone. I was feeling a bit worthless. I was feeling like I don't even deserve being here. So I decided I really don't want to go to this tournament. And also at the same time, I don't want to disappoint my coaches. I don't know how to tell them. So we arrived at the airport. The coach was outside there. I told him, I'm sorry, but I really didn't want to go on this tour. I talked to him what I've been going through. I had a few episodes of suicidal thoughts, self-harm. There was a certain numbness I was feeling towards myself. I don't think I'd showered for almost a week. So I talked to the coach about all these things, and he was very understanding. He told me, okay, I don't think I'll be taking you for this tour. I want you to go back home and maybe try and get some help. So that for me came actually as a relief.
I think for many people, for many men especially, it's so hard to really get your hands on your mental health situation, because especially in the context of living on a continent, you're a real African man, and you're supposed to just deal with your feelings and deal with your emotions. And I think it's actually braver. It's a sign of bravery when when men especially are actually willing to come clean and go out there about how they're feeling and seek help, because it's not the easiest thing to do.
I attempted suicide. Luckily enough, I was staying with my 3 sisters in our small apartment, so they found me with a knife. Of course, I was bleeding over there. Called Jimani. Jimani, of course, didn't waste any time. I was there in no moments. They took me to hospital. That was the first time I was admitted to a psychiatric facility, and that was for 2 weeks.
That was the beginning, I think, of recovery, because that was the first point where he looked the mental health issue in the eye and was like, yeah, this is what's happening, and I'm dealing with this.
Inside there is where I got now diagnosed with bipolar disorder. That was the beginning of my self-discovery journey, and unfortunately it was not the end.
Well, I think Dennis has come a real long way in terms of how he's dealt with his bipolarity. I mean, initially it was rough because we didn't know what it was.
You just have to manage it as you would any other condition.
When we learned about that, the disorder that he has, it didn't scare me away for some reason. There was still a phase, maybe a year and a half, of transition, acknowledgement, denial, and he was resisting, he didn't want to take pills. But I think through that journey, ups and downs, now he learned what keeps him going. And it's like diabetes, you cannot get rid of diabetes, you have to manage it, that's it. It's not a deadly disease, just a chronic disease, and you can be still happy.
When he made that statement on social media about how he was feeling and how he's been battling, I think that was like a big burden lifted off of his shoulders. So, and you know, becoming a family man as well has really given him some focus in his life. And I think that definitely, you know, the journey will never be 100% complete, but I think we're doing well, and he's doing very well.
I would say we've come a long way. We had our tough moments, really tough moments. But yeah, we've overcame it eventually.
My biggest fear right now, since I had kids, it's just being able to support them and securing their future. I'm really glad I sort of discovered social media, that there is actually a means of earning money from the brand that you've built over the years. So as soon as I discovered that, and I managed to bring a few of my talents together, cooking here and there, people call me funny, I don't know. My passion for food blossomed when we started touring the world. Through social media, I managed to sort of find a way of slowly transitioning from being fully dependent on rugby and being able to earn my own income.
He loves cooking, he has so much passion, he actually studies it. He doesn't just rely on his, his acquired skills, right? He constantly develops, he constantly tries new recipes. And I think even in the past, 3 years that we've been living together, his cooking actually improved.
I pity those who don't get to ever taste his food, because he is something else.
I've been through it, I managed to come out on the other side. I would really love to see other people come out and see the light on the other side as well.